Okay, so I'm going to bring up a member. Ashok, come on up. This particular member I love because he's such a pain in my ass. No, I'm just kidding. He's an excellent. Just listen to his story. You're going to love it. But keep in mind, he owns 100% of this unit. So all of these, I think he made a little bit of something on this deal. I may be wrong, but maybe he made a little bit of something. Is 100% him, okay? So go ahead, take it away, Ashok.
Name is Ashok Nigam. I'm originally from India. I did my marine engineering, which is merchant marine, basically in 1976. And I sailed all over the world on large ocean-going vessels. I became a chief engineer, and then I moved over to Hong Kong. I was there about 5 years, basically vessel managing the vessels. Then I moved to the United States in 1992, and I worked in oil and gas in Houston, and later on I ran a shipyard in Tampa for a couple of years. That picture is me, my wife, Anu, they're there. My son, Utkarsh, elder one, and the younger one, Utsav. Both of them are working here in Houston. And I move to the next. There you go. So I joined Lifestyle in 2014 to basically to diversify my investments in real estate and learn about multifamily investments. I had no idea. I did do single-family homes, but I didn't have any idea about multifamily homes. I had invested here in Houston in single-family homes. We had in KT area quite a few, and basically high-end ones where expats from Europe and all, they used to come and stay there. But these houses were like pools and things like that. So for that purpose, then market kind of, oil and gas companies went down, and all these expats were sent back. So the rents went down, and so finally we slowly we sold all of them. And so at the time I decided I wanted to invest in multifamily properties and there.
How did you, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. Okay. How did you decide to go from single family to multi-family? Because there are going to be a lot of people here that are like, well, do I want to do single family? Do I want to do multifamily? Do I want to be a passive, or do I want to be an IRO? How did you make that decision?
I had some partners in single family homes, and we were looking into basically to diversify this. So we looked at some, kind of commercial buildings, and then we looked into basically these car parks and things like that. And then somebody mentioned about multifamily, and then I heard about basically Lifestyle. I don't remember how I heard what it was. Then to 2014, I came over here. There was a seminar over there, so I came and attended the seminar. I wasn't really sure that it was going to work, basically, when I attended. And I kind of asked questions, and, questions were not right. Being an engineer, like I asked, But anyway, so I became a member after that. And then I was working in Tampa, so I had just come back in 2018, and I was planning to basically retire. So then this opportunity came in, this 20 units. I came to know one of the Lifestyle member who was here, who was selling, and then I met with one of the agents, and then I bought the property. That was bought in 2018 August. The property was, price was, it was 20 units. It's in Lamarck, close to Texas City. And it was 1.055 million, which is $52,725 per unit. And the cash out of pocket was $297,459. And
14 cents.
Yes. You had to put the 14 cents? Nobody but an engineer account would do that.
That was the price from the title company. That's why I put it there. So the financing was about $740,000, and it was at bank financing at 5.5%. And the rehab budget was $40K. I was not, didn't want to do any syndicate deal. I'm not very good with other people's money. So I wanted to use my own money, and I said I'll do it on my own. So I basically took an IRO deal.
Okay, real quick here. So I just want to make sure everybody understands. So this was a bank loan, right? So this was a recourse loan.
That's right.
Okay, so when you get into the seminar this weekend, or if you've been here before, you're going to understand there's recourse debt and non-recourse debt. Recourse debt is exactly like when you buy your own home and you tell the bank that I'll sign on the note. If you don't make the payments, they're going to come and take your house, right? They'll sell the house and they'll take their note back. right? They'll take their note back as far as the cash that's owed them, their note, and then they will, anything extra they give back to you. Anything that's not extra, you owe the bank for. That's recourse. Non-recourse means they come take the asset, sell it. If you owe them money, you say, here are the keys, that's all I have to do. That's what we do commercially, okay, on the multifamily typically. But when we first started out, this is just, I mean, who would sign on $1 million loan, right? Or a $750,000 loan, right? That's very scary, right? As opposed to if you just bought a house for $200,000, you put down that. It's very scary to write that. My first deal was about $1.2 million, and it was like, same thing, you're just scared. Don't be scared because the asset, you're gonna see what happens to this. It can go bad, but it's very unlikely. Real estate is very solid. Ashok, you've traveled internationally a lot, right?
Yes.
On the international side, where do the majority of the people put their money at, their assets?
It's actually, like originally I'm in India. A lot of people in India buy real estate.
Right.
A lot of people buy real estate. I mean, real estate or stock market is nowadays a little bit more, but mostly people used to buy homes and things like that.
Right.
Different properties.
Typically in overseas locations, and when you're starting, they buy hard assets, hard assets, hard assets, hard assets. The best guard against inflation there is. And you're going to see. So I'll let you go with that. And there's also, I want to understand, it's a $40,000 rehab budget. Typically in our multifamily units, they are a lot more than that. It's like we go in, like what David will teach you this weekend, we fix everything, new coat of paint, new roofs, new plumbing, make sure the marketing's there, new signs, we make sure everything's going to be working right out of the bat, and typically that's a lot more than $40,000. So.
Yeah, so it was a functional property. It was not, only the rents were less, and I didn't want to buy a property being a first one. I didn't want to buy something where I got to do a lot of rehab work. Plus, I was not interested in doing that much work. So but it had a scope, quite a bit of increasing the rent and things like that. So that's why I chose this one.
Okay, very good.
So this was the rental income was 182,500. Expenses were about 70,000, and NOI was 112,500, and monthly cash flow was about 50,000 a year. And so originally, like I had invested 257,000, so 297. So your cash on cash return was 16.8% basically.
Very good. All right, I got to clear up something on this slide. It says monthly cash flow. That's like the annual cash flow, right?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I messed that up. That's my bad. I'll take that. So, I'll be like,
I wish.
Dude, you bombed it. Awesome. Awesome.
I didn't even realize that.
So what we did with this is, over the period of 4 years that he owned this, he basically averaged about $162,000 a year in income. Minus the expenses give you the NOI, which stands for net operating income. Everybody know what a net operating income, how you value a multifamily property? Okay, you will find out this weekend, but little hint, Vance, you take the net operating income divided by what we call a cap rate, and that will be the value of your property. So not like single family, but in multifamily, as your net operating income goes up, so does the value of your property, okay?
But just that, guys, you see a 16.8% return, and because he's doing it correctly, it's tax-free. Who would love a 16% return? I mean, that is life-changing. You know, one deal like this could retire somebody.
Yes, but this is just him, though, remember. So he's got $50,000 a year. Over the life of this project, he took out $180,000K. How much did you invest in initially?
297.
Yep, 297. 300,000. Let's call it 300,000.
300,000, easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make it, I'm not an engineer, dude. Okay. All right, so let's see what happened over those 4 years. What happened to the net operating income? Go ahead and explain that.
So the first year, my 2019, the net operating income was 122,000. And and then there is a little mistake here, which is on the first year, the cash on cash distribution was 50K. That was the first year in 2019. Year two was 2020. That was the year when COVID hit. And basically, my NOI went down. We had issues, and then also I did a lot more capital projects that year. So that year, this cash on cash distribution was 30K. Instead of 50K, what is written there? It was 30K. Then year three was still part of COVID, but slowly it came back, and like it was, I had an NOI of 115K, but my cash on cash was still around 50K. Then year four was came back to about 125,000, And then my cash on cash was 50,000, which was basically last year, 2023.
All right, so let's understand that.
2022.
Right? He had it for 4 years. During that 4-year period, that was COVID, right? There was very challenging times, as we all lived through, right? Still operated it, still made money, right? Real estate is the most forgiving thing you will ever do in your life. Trust me. John mentioned being called an idiot. I've been called an idiot more times being a mentor than I ever was as a passive. So it's crazy. Because you can make money by just owning. And you really don't have to do, I mean, he did everything right that you could do it, which makes it better. The first property I owned, I just bought, and I was still working at the time, and I was like, still made money because it's crazy how that works. So what I'm saying is there's going to be some challenging times that you can't really control, but you still make it through with the real estate. You'll find a way, and it will happen. So very good. All right, so what happened after that?
So
In year 4.
I operated the property for 4 years, and I was kind of getting fed up of the calls, my toilet not working, and I was like all by myself. So all the calls, I will get prospective tenants or tenants calling, and I wanted to travel. So I did travel in between. So I'm in India at midnight, and I get a call like my toilet is not working. All right, come on, they don't even want to use the plumber to basically just. But anyway, so it was a problem. So I thought of selling it. So basically came 2022, and I got a good. I was going to go in November. I was going for about 6 weeks. And I desperately wanted to sell because I didn't want to go into India for 6 weeks, and I have this kind of issue, that getting calls at midnight and things like that.
Okay, so you decided to sell because you were tired of the calls?
Well, no, I mean, I've been operated for 4 years, and I guess I was convinced by Lee, my mentor. He said, sell it. Why you want to keep it? Sell it. And my loan was actually coming due also in August, and rates were already going up. Insurance was also up, and taxes was going up. Everything was going up. So, and market was
He sounds like an engineer, doesn't he?
Right. So I met with Lee a couple of times, and he said, sell it. And so I tried to sell it, it came over, and we met some people outside and this and that, and finally deal worked out.
Yeah. I want to... Okay.
So
understand, first of all, that all the calls he was getting, it's a 20-unit property, so it's not big enough to have a full-time staff, right? I do recommend if you can afford something bigger, you have a full-time staff so that when you're in India and nobody's calling you in the middle of the night, they're calling the answering service. And quite frankly, if it's in the middle of the night, unless it's a fire, flood, or blood, you just do not mess with it.
No. If you own 20 units, you better respond.
Yeah, well, that's true.
If you own 20 units, you better respond because it makes a difference. All your tenants are some of my tenants were there for 7, 8 years, 10 years, and some of them joined. So one of the things was then what I did was I found some very good vendors who were there. Then I had we'll go to the next slide and basically explain.
Yeah.
Some 20
And just so you know, this weekend, I'll teach you something called the economies of scale. And I teach you at 50 units, now you have part-time staff. When you're the manager on a small one is what Lee's trying to say. We want you to get to 100, 200 units where you have staff to do everything. Everybody understand that as you grow, but it's a good starter one.
Yeah, but the 20 unit is owned 20. I mean, when I started, I didn't want to go into something very big. That I ran into problems and this and that, so I found 20 unit was a good balance. And I found that, and that's why I basically went for 20 units. 20 units has got its own challenges, basically, that you got to manage the things on your own, and you are you are the mama, papa, whatever you want. And so you have to find ways to deal with the situation, and you're the man in charge.
So you got a call about a toilet backed up after you made a 246% return.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, exactly. So let's go through this. So you bought it at $1,055,000.
Right.
4 years later, after calls and blah, and it's horrible, you got an offer and you sold it for $1.57 million, right?
Right.
Okay, that's not the distributions.
No.
That's the buy and the sell.
Right.
He pays off his debt at the time. Again, you're paying down a little bit debt the entire time, so it went from $740,000 down to $722,000. Okay, you're building equity that way as well. It's just like single family. And then you pay let's say that's what you sold it for, but you invested your original $300,000.
Right.
So let's just say we give that back to you. You take it from your left pocket, you put it in your right pocket, and on top of that, he made over $500,000 in 4 years, $551,000, right? That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. That's good.
That's awesome. All because you took a couple calls in India at midnight. I mean, it's horrible, dude. Horrible.
No.
No. So, all right, so what that basically, with the capture, with the equity capture when he sold, plus the $180,000 that he pulled out of the pocket, out of his assets along the way, that's over $730,000 of true gain in 4 years. By doing what? No, no. He got it by buying it. That's
true.
how he did
Make
it.
money when we buy.
Okay?
It is very important because even when I bought it, I was very, doubtful about it, whether I should do it or not do it. And I said, if I'm a member, I might as well take the risk and do it. And I took a calculated risk that in case it doesn't work out. I mean, one thing is, as I said, real estate is something that you have an asset. You might lose 5%, 10%, but you're not going to lose everything. So that is one thing. So I said, okay, I'll buy it. I'll put in $300,000. If something happens, asset is worth $1 million. I'll lose $100,000, $200,000. Never mind, we'll do it. So I said, I became a member. This is what I wanted to do, so I might as well go ahead with it. So that's why I took it and I did it.
You know what's funny is, I want you guys to look at it, because I'm very proud of him making this return. I deal all day long with, you're a CPA, right? You're an engineer.
Recovery.
Well, you're recovery CPA. Accountants and engineers, and they complain when they make a 246% return. Who understands that?
Didn't get
Well,
played.
these people out here just lost 10% or 20% of the stock market.
Exactly.
It's an awesome deal. Give him a hand for that.
Today the market was good.
You did mention one thing that I'm going to kind of rebut a little bit. You said, I'll take the risk. I'm telling you, there is risk in real estate, but if you're outside lifestyles versus inside lifestyles, the amount of assistance, I mean, he went to meetings every month. We have what we call a lead meeting, IRO meeting. He came, he learned, he put into practice what we teach and talked to other members as well. I think you have a whole clan of people down there.
So
don't you?
this is when I say risk, doesn't mean that it's a very calculated risk. It's not something that I'm throwing the money. No, it was a very calculated risk that I took in thinking that I learned the process. That was one of the reasons that I joined Lifestyle, and I learned with the process here. Basically, it takes you from through A to through B. So I mean A through Z. I mean basically it takes you through, and you learn the process. And if you go through problems, you have people to call upon. Like in operations, Randa is there, or your mentor is there, you have issues. And then we have also, like my property was in Texas City area, so we have a Texas City owners, kind of members where we meet once a month, like we go for lunch and this and that. And we have our own WhatsApp group where if I run into a problem, hey, I need this, I just send a message and immediately response comes, hey, I use this guy, I use this. So a huge amount of support is there. That's one thing, the best thing about Lifestyle is the education and the support they provide you to take you through the deal, which is, you may not, I mean, you can do it probably on your own, but it's a, learning process may be very risky out here. So when I said risk means it was like a calculated risk, which you went through, educated risk, you can call it.
Right. Now, I will tell you that it's still very scary the first time you do it on your own. It's still very scary. It's perfectly natural. The mentors and the ops consultants will help you through that process. What we do is we put you right there and we go, go.
Yeah.
And they go do it, right?
Oh, well,
What happens?
the day I signed the papers, and when I went down that side, and I own this now.
Exactly.
And I said, what am I going to do? And learning on books and this and that is very different. But when you start, and when you get, I'm not used to getting people calling and saying, hey, this is wrong, that is wrong, and this, so you got to really, they are your basically clients. You got to really be respectful, to talk to them. Sometimes you get there. My wife will tell you probably that. But sometimes it is. But most of the time you have to really, talk very nicely whether you do it or not.
Very cool. All right, let's move forward and see how you did this.
Okay.
Again, when you increase your NOI, what happens? You increase the value. That's going to be a question, I think, this weekend. So you'll get that one right. Go ahead.
So as we were talking, smaller properties have their own challenges and require close monitoring of all expenses. So smaller properties, you are the own man, like 20 units, 30 units. You cannot afford to hire a manager or this and that. So what I had done was I managed on my own, but I had one of the tenants who had been there. I asked that lady to help me out with the regular routine work and this and that, filter calls out there and this. So I'll pay her some money on a monthly basis, and she did that. So that is.
So this weekend, when I talk about, I refer to him as a mother hen. You find somebody who always pays on time, does that, sweeps up outside, takes care of the property. He's like, I can buy back my time. I'll bless her with a little bit of money, but it buys back my time.
Yeah, but the moment you make her mother hen, she stops paying the rent. You remember that? This happens too. But anyway, so the analysis of local, the thing is 20-unit property and it's a Lamarck area. One thing was very good that this is on the main road. So I didn't have to do any marketing. I didn't spend one dime on the marketing. I just had one small sign for rent and my number, that's it. And I would get so many calls basically, for this. So that was the best thing about this property, that I didn't have to worry about it. So my main goal was keeping the occupancy high, because even if some tenants sometime, like people run into problems, it happens very often, all of us do. So if somebody ran into problems and issues are there, I would personally talk to them and see, hey, what is their workout payment plan that if they can afford to, but minimum they got to pay like first week of this, and then I would waive the late fees and things like that in case they're willing to this.
Yeah, we don't
I'll teach you a different way to do all this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do that.
So your goal was basically keeping the occupancy high. So you had all the time. So that way your turnover cost goes down, and this was there.
Yeah, so keep in mind that, again, it's 20 units, right? He's operating himself, so 20 units is a lot closer to like single family than it is to multifamily, although it technically is multifamily. Occupancy is the main thing. Think of a single family house. You're either 100% occupied or you're 0% occupied, right? You're not 95% or 50, it's not like that at all. Within 20 units, if I have 2 vacant units, let's say I have 1 vacant unit and 1 person that's not paying, that's 90% right there, right? So percentages don't really jive when you're talking about it. The more people that you have in the unit, the more paying. If they're paying, they're paying. That's the name of the game. So that's why you have to keep occupancy high.
Then second thing was vendors. Like a smaller unit, you cannot really have a big vendors. You got to keep the cost down. So selection of vendors was there. You try and find local vendors who are there, like a mom and pop shop, and they work. And you find one vendor and make sure you have another vendor in line, so that anytime if this vendor leaves, then you have another one.
It's really all about the relationship.
All about the relationship management.
The relationship you have with the people coming to help you. It's all about the relationships.
Then I found one of the resident, always like one of the resident was there. I paid him some amount of money. So typical, like daily type of job. My door is not working, my toilet is not working, my tap is not working, or things like that. So one of the resident, he would do the job, and I used to pay him for that. I mean, was there. So that way, one thing was there that it took away that I had to arrange something. He could do it on the spot, and the response was very quick. So it helped with that. And major repairs and all things like that, like ACs, water heaters, I always had repair, quotes in advance. Not when it broke, but I had the quotes in advance beforehand. And if something broke, then I just call him, and then he say, hey, you quoted this, come and do it. So that way it was a lot easier and cheaper, better.
Okay. That's not major, though.
No.
Right. So all this, hold on, we'll go back here real quick.
Okay.
So all this, and you made $730,000 in 4 years.
Yes.
I mean, I don't care. You're talking like there's the problems, and there's no real problems here. Very good.
Not now.
Not now, because there's no now. Very good.
So lifestyle has given me invaluable education in multifamily properties, no doubt about that. Without this education and mentoring and the continued support which I received from Lee, Randa, and from our members, I wouldn't have been able to do this. So I would not have bought it, property.
I will second that. I mean, even back when I first started, if it wasn't for lifestyles and it wasn't for the people that had already done this before me and kind of led me along the way, there's no way I would have ever, I mean, especially conservative type people, engineers, accountants. I mean, I was the one that was bending over getting kicked through the chute. I mean, when I first bought. It's crazy because we have the people that have done it, and if you're around the people that have done it, you tend to want to do it as well, and it makes you do it. And then once you hop in, you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to make over $700,000.
What I love about, most of my students are engineers. Most of my students are accountants. Is if you show them a process, they can replicate it. So once they do one, they can do 10 in a row. Like he started single family, then he went to multifamily, then he went big and blew up. You see what I'm saying? Because you can replicate a process, right?
Sure. Go with it.
Engineers are good at copying. Or CPAs, rather.
Very good. Awesome. All right, so what's next?
Oh, have fun. So, yeah, nowadays, the last few years I've been cooking, so I'm learning to cook. That's my passion. And vacations.
Perfect.
I joined biking group, so I bike around some international.
You're literally just looking for to do right now.
Right, I'm looking to do. There's no doubt about it. That is a fact. That is a fact. Especially now.
Now that's a retirement plan right there. I'm sorry. That is awesome.
No, I volunteer a lot too. So
Very good.
there are a few things here and there. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Next. So we talk a lot about teams, surrounding yourself, and Gabriel go again that this weekend. We have to surround ourselves with the right team. So who was on your team?
So on my team, mentor, as I said, was I started with Curtis before, and then.
But you graduated upward? Yeah, I like
so,
that. Yeah,
right.
I like it. I like it.
I graduated upwards, better looking guy, better money.
Exactly.
And then, of course, Randa. Randa is there. Randa has always been a great help, and she's in our operations and always available. And I started with, my agent started with Joe, then Joe left, came back, and then Diana and Chuck, basically. So I went through a couple of them.
I think Joe's here today. Is he still here? He was here earlier. Okay. Very good. And Diana?
And then, of course, a special thanks to Randa and Lee and my Texas City members. I don't know if anybody's here or no, but, and of course, fellow members.
Very good. Awesome. Great round of applause. Thank you very much. All right. All right. Do we have time for a couple questions?
Are you invested in any passive deals?
Yes,
Question was, I'm going to repeat it for, are you investing in any passive deals for
yes,
people online?
I am. Few deals.
Okay.
Because that's ultimately where we all get to is we want to be like John. John's the ultimate goal, yeah.
You know, let me be like the lazy guy that was here earlier. We're just too dumb to get there yet.
Did you consider using a management company?
The question was, did you consider using a third-party management?
No.
No one
I
cares
have
as much
done-
about your money as you, right?
I've done many projects in my life, multi-million-dollar projects, oil and gas and otherwise. So I had no doubt about managing. It's just I didn't know the intricacies, the how you manage and what you do about property and things like that, which I had the support. So I never thought about. If I was going to do it, I said I'll do it myself.
Yeah, and quite honestly, on a deal this size, management companies make no sense. They're going to take much more of your income.
They're going to charge
than
like
it's worth.
10% on a small one.
It's not worth it.
Plus, if you want to, it's much better if you do it yourself. Then you look after your own interests much better than others.
For sure.
So when he buys the 100 unit now, when he has staff, he knows what to look for.
That's a different thing.
You going to do that?
I don't know. Maybe. Let's see.
Again, you're just looking for to do, right?
But not a lead. No.
All right, very good.
There's,
Were there any unexpected costs that you didn't anticipate?
were there any big unexpected costs you didn't anticipate?
They were on and off. When I took a rehab budget was 40,000, but then when I went through and when I was operating, I didn't want to use the rehab budget. I said I'll pay from the things like from operations itself. As in when main problems which came out were ACs and things like that, major problems of that nature, not anything other than that.
So okay. Anything major come up? He had a budget of $40,000 total for his
Right.
capital, which he didn't even use. Okay. Again, he's got the sign on the door, and anything major that came up, he made $730,000. What major is going to come up that's going to deflect any of that? And even along the way, he was taking money out. So again, $50,000, $30,000 a year taking out. I mean, what major is going to happen? The thing goes or it catches fire. We got insurance for that. Hurricane, we got insurance for that. I mean, there's stuff that's going. The minor stuff's going to happen.
I mean, if
but-
an AC goes out, $3-4 grand, it's not going to be crazy.
yeah, not gonna be. All right, cool.
Back there?
Yeah, I was wondering, you had problems with your air conditions. Didn't you buy new ones when you started and had warranties on them? Why did you have to repair them?
So I did, buy the new ones, yes. But like when I bought it, I had a AC vendor come in and he told me we need to change 10 units. I went on the roof with him. I used to manage ACs on the ships myself, and 100 times bigger than those ones. And I went around and I noted down each one of them, and I said, I'm not going to change one, because all of them were working. But then later on, as and when I took few trips up on the roof, because all the ACs were on the roof, and then as and when I found something not working properly, then I replaced with the
He had
new one.
T-Rex arms. He was too cheap to fix them all up front. He mom and popped it, but then he had to pay for it in the end.
Yeah. So I
Again, this
replaced
was a
them.
flat roof he was up on. He was not climbing on it.
Yeah.
Got another question over here.
They still would have got it.
No,
It's
but
still
I bought it 4 years back. They're still working. I replaced 6, 7 of them, and most of them are still working.
And again, when he first purchased it, remember, he was there wasn't much he wanted to do or needed to do with it. We don't try to over-engineer something when we buy it. We know what the environment is in that area, and if we'd have gone through and replaced everything, put granite countertops, blah, 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 it wouldn't have made any difference.
What you're going to learn this weekend is there's something called a feasibility period. We go through all kind of steps to make sure we know exactly what the asset is. We're going to time and date stamp everything. We're going to get an idea, which he did, and he just took the risk of whether he wants to hold them or not. I'll teach you that this weekend.
This is the main thing that we were in the market where I knew that the rents, I can only charge so much. And I'm getting, my property is full. And I'm getting the rents what I want, I can only increase it. So I didn't want to go into anything, doing something major, trying to do and spend money, and you cannot get the the return for that. So I just did originally when I started. I just removed all the carpets and the tub and the what do you call it, the kitchen the tops and all. I changed, improved better ones, but not anything granite or fancy. But tiles and all I changed. Instead of carpets, I put the
The model is best product, best price, clean and functional, nothing over the top.
Right.
He's not putting granite countertops in his neighborhood. He didn't need to.
We have a question about.
Yeah, my question was, did you 1031 exchange it, or did you just take the hit or use your passive deductions, or how did that work?
Well, I think in March I'm going to take a big hit.
He's going to pay tax to help the poor people.
I don't know. I sold it in November, and I didn't have any time for 1031. So it is what it is. Sometimes you got to make Uncle Sam happy.
It's a real tough problem to have.
Yes.
That you have to.
That's the way I look at it.
You make $750,000, you might have to pay a little tax.
Yeah,
might as
guys,
well pay tax.
even if we pay taxes, a capital gains rate, who cares? If you can make 100% return on your next one, don't worry about a little bit in taxes. You guys all think you have a tax problem. Who thinks you pay too much in taxes? You don't. You have an income problem. Make a few million a year like I do and he does. Okay?
And that's the right way to think. If you made the money, if you're paying the tax. But I do have passive investment where I do have certain amount of depreciation, which
And some of that offset.
which I could offset. But yeah, certain amount I have to pay.
And that's getting a little advanced, but I'll teach you about that this weekend. Okay?
Very good.
Cool. All right. Well, let's give him a hand. Appreciate you guys giving back. Thank you so much, guys.